This is your Lakshmi ma'am, and I have brought you the first video on the language of chemistry. So in small parts, we'll be discussing about the various concepts which you have already known earlier, but in a more better way. You will be learning it gradually, because this language of chemistry itself is a complete summary of whatever you have learned in your earlier classes, right? So, starting from the definition of chemistry. Chemistry is basically the study of matter. It's the study of matter, and as you know, matter is anything that occupies space and has mass. So what do we study about matter in chemistry? We study about the nature of the matter. We study about the structure of the matter. And we study how a particular matter behaves under different conditions. So this is the complete study of chemistry that we are dealing with. The nature of the matter, the structure of the matter, and how a particular matter behaves under different conditions. Okay? So, matter, as we know, you are classifying matter since your lower classes, but still again let us take a quick revision on that. Matter is broadly classified in two types of substances. It's pure substance and mixtures. Yes, matter can be broadly classified into pure substance and mixtures. Pure substance is again further subdivided into elements and compounds. Yes? Okay. Elements are further subdivided into four types. We have the metals, we have the non-metals, we have metalloids, and we have the inert gases. Right? These all are elements. Okay? Elements form compounds. Mixtures are further classified into homogeneous and heterogeneous. Homogeneous, heterogeneous. Okay? So a pure substance, element is a pure substance, compound is a pure substance. Element is a pure substance which is made up of one kind of atoms. There are by now 118 known elements. New elements are being discovered and studied, but right now we have 118 known elements. Okay? So, these 118 known elements are further classified as metals, non-metals, metalloids and inert gases. You know that metals have their own properties, the physical properties as well as the chemical properties. They are lustrous, they are malleable, they are ductile, they have high melting and boiling point, they form electropositive radicals. All these things we'll be discussing later on. Non-metals are just the opposite of metals. Metalloids are midway between metals and non-metals, and inert gases are the non-reactive or the noble gases that we call them. Helium, neon, argon, xenon, radon, krypton, and all those things. Compounds are what? They are also pure substance, but they are made up of atoms of two or more kinds. When atoms of two or more kinds combine, they form what? Compound. But both of them are pure substance. And mixtures, as you know, mixtures are what? The components, the constituent substances are physically mixed and they can be separated easily. But if you want to, you cannot separate the constituents of compound simply by physical method. You have read that earlier. Okay, you know these things earlier. But then mixtures by the method of distillation, sedimentation, decantation, filtration, sieving, winnowing, the many methods you have read by which you can separate the mixtures. There are two types: homogeneous, which have the same composition, uniform composition throughout its entire mass, and heterogeneous, which have non-uniform composition. That means the constituent substances are not uniformly mixed. Okay, so these things are not needed. I don't think these things need much explanation. So now let us come main to the various concepts related with elements and compounds. The first thing that comes to my mind is the atom. It's a very common word in chemistry. Atom is a very common word in chemistry. You have read that elements are composed of atoms of only one kind. That means if you take a piece of gold and you break it into smaller particles, the last particle, which is the atom, has all the properties of gold. Okay, it has all the properties of gold. So an atom is basically the smallest part of an element that has all the properties of an element. That has all the properties of an element. And it is these atoms that combine. There's a reason for combination. They don't simply combine like this. So why do they combine and all these things? You know it, but then we'll be discussing it gradually, okay? So these atoms only combine together and form what? Molecules. They form molecules. Clear? So elements combine to form, atoms combine to form molecules. Atom is the smallest particle, the indivisible particle of an element, and you know that it is composed of the still smaller subatomic particles like protons, neutrons, electrons, and molecules are made up of two or more different kinds of atoms. Okay. So now let us take a detailed study of atom. Briefly, we'll be discussing that, not detailed basically. So this is a summary of what you should know by now. Okay. Atom is usually unstable. It cannot exist independently. But molecule can exist independently. Right? Atom takes part in chemical reaction. And since molecule is stable, it doesn't take part in chemical reaction. Okay. So you have already learned the atomic numbers from hydrogen up to calcium. Yes or no? Up to from 1 to 20 elements, you have been already acquainted with the atomic numbers and the mass number. Okay? You're already acquainted. So, what is the basic structure of an atom? Let us discuss it briefly. So, you know that at the center of the atom, there is what? Nucleus. At the center of the atom, there is nucleus. Nucleus contains what? Protons and neutrons. And around this nucleus, there are different shells or energy levels where the electrons revolve. Okay. So an atom is composed of subatomic particles, protons which are positively charged, neutrons which are neutral, carrying no charge, and electrons which are negatively charged. Okay. So inside the nucleus, protons and neutrons are there. So as a whole, nucleus is carrying what charge? Positive charge. And electrons, since they are carrying opposite charge, so they continually revolve around the nucleus. And many theories are there. We will be gradually studying it. Just a basic idea. Once again, let us take a revision for that. So now you know the atomic numbers from 1 to 20. So let us take one example like let's take magnesium, which is a metal. It's 12 Mg24. 12 is the atomic number, 24 is the mass number. So what is that? What is the definition of an atomic number? Atomic number is basically the number of protons or the number of electrons. It is the number of protons or the number of electrons in a neutral atom. Because when an atom becomes an ion, the number of electrons changes. So basically we should say that atomic number is what? The number of protons or the number of electrons in a neutral atom. Because in a neutral atom, the number of protons is equal to the number of electrons. Clear? That's why it is neutral, because the positive charges are equal to the negative charges. Mass number is what? Basically it refers to the mass of the nucleus. Mass of the nucleus. That means the sum of the protons and the neutrons present inside the nucleus is the mass number or the atomic mass we call it. Okay. So we have how many shells? We have K, L, M, N. So like that the shell numbers are like that. We have named the shells. The first shell is a K shell, the second shell is the L shell, the third is the M shell, n shell and so forth. Yes or no? And you know the formula for putting the number of electrons in various shells starting from the innermost shell, which is nearest to the nucleus. So let us take the example of magnesium. Let us draw the atomic structure of magnesium first. So magnesium has 12 electrons and 12 protons. So the number of protons is 12. How will you find the number of neutrons? 24 minus 12. Atomic mass minus atomic number. So it's again 12. So in this case, the number of protons is equal to the number of neutrons. So the first shell is the K shell. Then you have the L shell. Then you have the M shell. So like that, number continues. Yes or no? Okay. So now 2n square formula up from 1 to 20. Just you need to remember from 1 to 20 elements. Okay, from 1 to 20 elements. You need to remember just one thing. Already, that the first shell can have a maximum of how many electrons? 2 electrons. Okay. The second shell can have a maximum of 8 electrons. The third shell can have a maximum of 18 electrons. Third shell can have a maximum of 18 electrons. Clear? Fourth. So let us talk about magnesium here. So the first shell, 2 electrons. First shell, 2 electrons. Second shell, 8 electrons. Okay, 8 electrons. Now 2 plus 8, 10 is already over. Now remaining 2 electrons are there. So the remaining 2 electrons will be in the outermost shell, that is the M shell. That is the M shell. So magnesium has 3 shells, K, L, M. In detail, when I will be teaching you the periodic table, I will explain you more about the shells and everything. For the time being, whatever you have learned, only those things we are discussing. Just a revision, okay, for everyone. So the first shell has a maximum capacity of 2 electrons. See, I am here focusing on atomic numbers up to calcium only, what you have been asked to learn. Okay, so accordingly I am saying you, first shell 2 electrons, second shell 8 electrons, and the outermost shell the remaining electrons. Clear? So now this is the atomic structure of magnesium. So for the time being up to atomic numbers 20, I would like to tell you that you can just do it like this: 2, 8, 8, and the remaining electrons. Why I said this? Because let us take an example of calcium. Highest atomic number is calcium. Let us take the example of calcium. It's 20 Ca40. Atomic number is 40 and atomic mass is 40 and atomic number is 20. So 20 Ca40. Okay. So nucleus. Protons is 20, then neutrons is also 20, because 40 minus 20 will give us 20 only. Then the first shell, that is a K shell. First shell can have maximum of 2 electrons. So let us draw the electronic configuration first. The electronic configuration of calcium. First shell 2, second shell 8, third shell 8, okay, 8 plus 8, 16 plus 2, 18. How many remaining? 2. Okay. Now why did I say you that you keep M shell as 8? Because you see, if the maximum capacity you will be studying like it's 18, actually it is 18 only, but then up to atomic numbers 20 you can follow this. Clear? So what happens here in this case? So if we cannot put, the theory says that we cannot put, the outermost shell cannot have more than 8 electrons. So if we are putting 2 here, the outermost shell has 10 electrons. So we cannot do that. Okay. We cannot write the electronic configuration of calcium as 2, 8 and 10. The maximum capacity of M shell is 18. But then we cannot write, because since the outermost shell, then this M shell will be the outermost shell and it will have 10 electrons, which is not possible. Okay. Cannot do that. So that's why for up to atomic numbers 20, we have this way we are going to write the atomic structure. K, L shell, L has 8 electrons, then M, again 8, and the outermost shell, as you know, it is also called as the valence shell, because the outermost shell only decides the valency of a particular element. So magnesium was a metal that we discussed earlier. Calcium is also a metal. And you can see that if you write the electronic configuration of magnesium, it was 2, 8, 2. 282. Its outermost shell had 2 electrons. The electronic configuration of calcium has the outermost shell, that is the valence shell, has 2 electrons. It has 2 electrons. Okay, so that means we can conclude from here that metals usually have 1, 2, or 3 electrons in their outermost shell. Metals usually have 1, 2, and 3 electrons in their outermost shell. If we take the example of one non-metal like nitrogen, let's take the example of some non-metals and write the electronic configuration. Suppose nitrogen, it's 7 and 14. So how many, what is the atomic number? 7. So first shell 2, outermost shell 5, over. Phosphorus, it's 15p31. Clear? So first shell 2, second shell 8, outermost shell 5. So these two are non-metals, and you can see how many electrons they are having in the outermost shell and the valence shell. 5. Yes? Oxygen, 8O16. So it's 2, 8, 8. Sorry. 2, 6. 2, 6. Atomic number is 8. So 2, 6. So that means in case of metals, the number of electrons in the valence shell is 1, 2, 3. And in the case of non-metals, it is 4, 5, 6, 7. That means higher, more number of electrons in the valence shell. So from this, what you can conclude that the metals, they donate electrons during a chemical reaction, and non-metals, they accept electrons during chemical reaction. Okay, so why do they do that? Why do they do that? Why these chemical reactions take place? Why atoms combine to form molecules? It's because they want to be stable. It's because they want to be stable. Since they are unstable, so in order to become stable, they donate electrons or they gain electrons. This is the reason why ions are formed. You have read about the cations and the anions. Cations, anions. Cations are positively charged, anions are negatively charged. So why atoms form ions? Because they are not stable, they are unstable. So in order to become stable, they lose electrons or they gain electrons. If it's a metal, it loses electron. If it's a non-metal, it gains electrons. It's a simple concept. It's a very simple concept. Okay. So, for example, now for this, there are two rules. Duplet rule and octet rule. Duplet rule and octet rule. The duplet rule says that in case of, it's applicable for helium, yes or no? So duplet rule says that if the outermost shell has 2 electrons, then the particular atom is stable. That's why helium is stable. And octet rule if the outermost shell has 8 electrons. So every atom tries to attain the stable electronic configuration. That is why it becomes reactive, enters into chemical reaction and becomes stable. That is the basis of chemical reaction. Why do atoms react? In order to become stable, because they have to fulfill the duplet rule or the octet rule. Duplet rule, 2 electrons in the valence shell, this is applicable only for helium, and octet rule, the 8 electrons in the outermost shell makes an atom stable. That is the reason a neutral atom becomes an ion. So when an atom gains electrons or when an atom loses electrons, it forms what? Ions. So atoms only give rise to ions. Right? Let us take the example of suppose sodium. We know it's 11 Na23. Okay, 11 is the atomic number of sodium. So its electronic configuration is 281. In the outermost shell, it has how many electrons? It has 1 electron. Okay. So if it loses this electron, it will become what? Stable. Because if this is the K shell, L shell and M shell. If this shell is removed, then the outermost shell will be the L shell which is having how many electrons? 8 electrons. So the sodium atom obviously will become what? Stable here. Clear? So if you're asked to write the electronic configuration of sodium atom, you will write what? 281. But if you're asked to write the electronic configuration of sodium ion, it will be 28 because already it has lost what? 1 electron. That's why I said that. How will you define the atomic number? It is the number of protons. Because or the number of electrons in a neutral atom. Because now in the sodium ion, the number of electrons has changed. Now what is the number of electrons here? 10. It is no more 11. So the number of electrons is changing. Clear? So from here what we can conclude? Sodium is a metal. Sodium is what? A metal having 1 electron in the valence shell. So in order to attain or in order to become stable, it loses 1 electron. So sodium loses 1 electron. Electrons are negatively charged. So when one negative charge is reduced, it gains a positive charge. Likewise, let's take the example of carbon. Not carbon. Nitrogen, okay? Nitrogen. So what about nitrogen? So let us take the example of nitrogen here. So what is the electronic configuration of nitrogen? 7 and 14. Okay? It's 2 and 5. 2 and 5. So now nitrogen is having how many electrons in the outermost shell or the valence shell? It's having what? 5 electrons. It needs 3 more electrons. See, it is easy to gain 3 electrons or is it easy to lose 5 electrons? Obviously, it is easy to gain 3 electrons. Yes or no? So what this nitrogen will do? It will accept 3 electrons from some other element. It will accept 3 electrons from some other element and form a type of bond. You form bonding with other element. So in this case, what happened? A nitrogen atom will gain electron. Instead of losing, it will gain electron. So that case, it is gaining, since it is gaining 3 extra negative charges, so it becomes what? It gains, it becomes a trivalent element. Because 3 electrons are involved in the chemical reaction. 3 electrons, the valence electrons are involved in the chemical reaction. So we can say that, so from here only the concept of valency also I will be explaining. So just remember one thing for today. Atoms form ions because they want to be stable, and there are 2 types of ions. The positive ions are the cations, the negative ions are the anions. Metals usually form cations and non-metals usually form anions. Metals form cations by losing electrons and non-metals usually form anions by gaining electrons. And in the next class, we'll be discussing more on this topic. Okay, we'll continue it further. Okay, till then, Keep studying, keep practicing, and stay safe. Okay.